You arrive at a place where the ocean doesn't just meet the sky, it swallows it whole. A place where the sun doesn't simply set, it performs. Where every evening feels like the world is ending and beginning again at the same time. And for a brief moment, standing on that cliff, you forget who you are, because something much bigger is happening in front of you. This is Shirley Heights. And the first time you see it, it changes you. Long before the music, before the laughter, before the scent of grilled food drifting through the air, this place was something entirely different. You have to go back. Back to a time when the Caribbean wasn't postcards and cocktails, but tension, strategy, and war. Imagine this, it's the 18th century. The air is heavy, not with music, but with anticipation. The sea below you is no longer calm and inviting, it's a battlefield waiting to happen. You stand on a rugged hilltop, surrounded by British soldiers. Their eyes are fixed on the horizon. No one speaks much. Every movement matters. Because out there, beyond the curve of the earth, enemy ships could appear at any moment. This hill, this very place, was once a military lookout. Shirley Heights was named after Sir Thomas Shirley, a British governor. But its true identity wasn't in its name, it was in its purpose. From here, you could see everything. The deep natural harbor of English Harbour. The endless stretch of ocean beyond. Every ship that entered or exited. And in those days, knowledge was power. If you saw the enemy first, you lived. If you didn't get a second chance. Cannons were positioned here. Fortifications built. Signals sent across distances with fire and smoke. It wasn't a place of beauty. It was a place of survival. But time has a strange way of rewriting stories. Wars ended. Empires faded. And slowly, the silence that once filled this hilltop returned, but this time, it wasn't tense. It was peaceful. Nature began to reclaim what was once taken. The stone structures remained, but their purpose changed. The same cliffs that once watched for danger now overlooked something far more timeless. Beauty. And then, one day, people started coming back. Not as soldiers. But as wanderers. As travelers. As seekers of something they couldn't quite explain. And what they found was magic. Now imagine this. You're there. You've made the journey up the winding road, climbing higher and higher, the view teasing you through glimpses between trees. The air changes as you ascend. It becomes lighter. Cooler. Charged with something. You step out of your car. And for a second, nothing happens. Just the sound of wind. Then you walk forward. One step. 2 steps. And suddenly, it hits you. The view. It doesn't just open up, it explodes. Below you, the Caribbean Sea stretches endlessly, painted in shades of deep blue and turquoise you didn't think were real. English Harbour curves like a perfect crescent, dotted with boats that look like tiny white specks from this height. But it's not just what you see. It's what you feel. The breeze hits your skin, warm yet refreshing. The kind of wind that carries stories, salt, sun, and something ancient. You lean against the stone wall. And for a moment, you're suspended between earth and sky. Time slows down. You notice people around you, but they don't feel like strangers. Everyone is quiet in that same stunned way. As if they've all just realized something at the same time. This place isn't normal. And then, it begins. The sun starts to lower. Slowly. Deliberately. As if it knows it has an audience. The sky shifts from blue to gold. Then to orange. Then to something deeper, something almost unreal. And you watch. Everyone watches. No phones at first. Just eyes. Because no screen could ever capture this properly. The horizon glows. Clouds catch fire. The sea reflects it all like a mirror, doubling the spectacle. And then you feel it, that quiet, overwhelming sense of awe. The kind that makes you question everything. The kind that reminds you how small you are, and how lucky you are to be here. But Shirley Heights doesn't stop there. Because just as the sun disappears, the atmosphere changes again. Music begins. Soft at first. A steel pan, maybe. Then drums. Then voices. Laughter rises like smoke into the night air. You turn around, and the place that felt almost sacred moments ago transforms into something alive, something electric. People are dancing. Strangers are talking like old friends. The smell of barbecue fills the air, spices, smoke, something sizzling over open flames. You grab a drink. Cold. Perfect. You take a sip and watch as the sky fades into deep blue, then black, the stars beginning to peek through. And you realize something strange. This isn't just a viewpoint. It's a ritual. Every Sunday, this transformation happens. From silence to celebration. From reflection to connection. And you're part of it now. You didn't plan for this to mean something. But it does. There are things about Shirley Heights that most people don't realize. Things that make it more than just a beautiful location. For example, that iconic Sunday gathering. It didn't start as a global attraction. It began as something simple. Locals coming together. Music, food, community. No grand vision. No tourist strategy. Just people, enjoying life. And somehow, that authenticity stayed. Even as the world discovered it. Another thing, you're not just standing on a random hill. You're standing on history. Those stone structures around you. They're remnants of military buildings that once played a crucial role in defending the island. Some of the cannons are still there. Silent now. But they've seen things. Battles. Fear. Decisions that changed lives. And yet, here they are, overlooking laughter instead of war. There's also something about the view that photographers obsess over. It's considered one of the most breathtaking sunset viewpoints in the entire Caribbean. Not just because of the colors, but because of the composition. The harbor, the hills, the sea, the sky, it all aligns perfectly. Like nature decided to create a masterpiece and left it here for anyone willing to climb high enough to see it. And then there's the energy. People talk about it, but it's hard to explain. Some say it's the history. Some say it's the landscape. Some say it's the people. But when you're there, you feel it. A kind of invisible thread connecting everything. But let's be honest. Not everything about Shirley Heights is perfect. And if you're planning to experience it, you should know the reality too. First, the crowds. That peaceful, almost spiritual sunset moment. You won't be alone. Especially on Sundays. People come early to claim good spots. By the time the sun starts its descent, the place can get packed. You'll hear multiple languages. See cameras everywhere. It's beautiful, but it's not private. Then there's the cost. Entrance isn't free. Drinks and food. Definitely not cheap. You're paying for the experience, yes, but if you're expecting budget-friendly, this might surprise you. And transportation. Getting up there can be tricky if you don't have a car. Taxis are available, but prices can vary. And if you're staying far away, it becomes a bit of a journey. Also, while the party atmosphere is fun, it's not for everyone. If you're looking for quiet reflection after sunset, that's not what happens here. It gets loud. Energetic. Sometimes crowded to the point where you feel more in a festival than a scenic viewpoint. And then there's something subtle, but important. The expectation. You've probably seen pictures. Videos. Perfect sunsets, smiling faces, glowing reviews. And when something is built up that much, reality can feel slightly different. Not worse. Just different. Because no place can fully match the imagination you've built in your head. But here's the truth. Shirley Heights doesn't need perfection. It doesn't need to match your expectations. Because what it offers isn't something you can fully prepare for. It's a moment. A feeling. And those don't follow scripts. As the night deepens, you find yourself standing a little apart from the crowd. The music is still playing. People are still dancing. But you've stepped closer to the edge again. The harbor below is now lit with tiny lights, boats gently swaying in the darkness. The sky above is filled with stars. And the wind, it's still there. Constant. Unchanged. You take a breath. And for a second, everything feels aligned. The past. The present. The noise. the silence, the history beneath your feet, the life around you. And you realize something. Places like this, they don't just exist on maps. They exist in memory, in feeling, in the quiet moments when you stop and truly see what's in front of you. Because one day, you'll leave. You'll go back to your routine, your responsibilities, your everyday life. But this moment, standing on that cliff, watching the world shift from day to night, that stays with you. Not as a photo, not as a video, but as something deeper. Something you can't quite explain. And maybe that's the point. Because Shirley Heights isn't just a place you visit. It's a place that reminds you how it feels to be fully, completely alive. And just when you think you've understood it, the place reveals another layer. Because Shirley Heights isn't just about what you see in one evening. It's about how it lingers. You wake up the next morning, somewhere far from that cliff, maybe in a quiet room, maybe near the sound of waves, and for a brief second, you feel disoriented. Like you've left something behind. Not a physical thing. Something internal. You replay it. That exact moment when the sun touched the horizon. The exact second when the crowd went silent. That strange, collective pause, as if hundreds of people forgot everything at once. And you realize that doesn't happen often. In a world that's constantly moving, constantly scrolling, constantly distracted. How often do people stop? Truly stop? Shirley Heights forces that moment on you. Not aggressively. Not loudly. But undeniably. Now imagine going back. Not as a first-timer, but as someone who knows what's coming. You arrive earlier this time. Much earlier. The road feels familiar now, the curves no longer uncertain. You know where to look for those first glimpses of the harbor through the trees. But something feels different. Because anticipation has replaced curiosity. You're not wondering what's at the top. You're waiting for it. You step out again. Same breeze. Same stones under your feet. Same endless horizon. But this time, you notice more. The way the light hits the old ruins, casting shadows that stretch across the ground like remnants of the past still trying to speak. The subtle shifts in color on the water, changing minute by minute, as if the sea itself is breathing. The conversations around you, snippets of different languages, laughter, stories, all blending into one living soundtrack. You realize something important. The first time you came, you were overwhelmed. This time, you're aware. And that awareness deepens everything. You walk a little further than you did before. Past the main viewpoint. Away from the densest part of the crowd. And suddenly, it gets quieter. Not silent. But softer. The music fades just enough to feel distant, like an echo rather than a presence. You find a spot. Maybe a rock. Maybe a low wall. And you sit. No rush. No urgency. Just you and the view. And here's where something shifts again. Because when you're not chasing the perfect sunset moment, you start noticing everything around it. A couple sitting nearby, not speaking, just holding hands. A group of friends laughing over something small, something that probably wouldn't matter anywhere else, but here, it feels amplified. A lone traveler standing at the edge, completely still, as if trying to absorb the entire horizon into memory. You start to understand that Shirley Heights isn't just a shared experience. It's also deeply personal. Everyone takes something different from it. Everyone leaves with their own version of the story. And then, as the sun begins its descent again, you realize something subtle but powerful. No two sunsets here are the same. The colors shift differently. The clouds move in new patterns. The light behaves in ways you didn't expect. It's never a replay. It's always a new performance. And somehow, that makes it feel even more special. Because you're not just witnessing something beautiful. You're witnessing something unrepeatable. Something that will never exist in exactly the same way again. The music starts earlier this time. Or maybe you just notice it sooner. A rhythm builds. Soft at first. Then stronger. More defined. It pulls you back toward the center, toward the energy. You stand up. walk back. And suddenly, you're part of it again. But differently. More relaxed. More open. You're not just observing anymore. You're participating. Someone hands you a drink. Maybe you ordered it. Maybe you didn't. It doesn't matter. You take it. Cold again. Refreshing again. But this time, you don't just taste it. You associate it. With the air. With the sound. With the feeling of being exactly where you are. People start dancing again. And here's the thing, you don't need to know how. You don't need to be good. You just need to let go. Because this isn't about performance. It's about presence. You move. Even slightly. Even awkwardly. And suddenly, you're smiling. Not because anything specific happened. But because something shifted inside you. But there's another side to this place. One that only reveals itself if you stay long enough. If you look closely enough. As the night deepens, and some people begin to leave. The energy changes again. It becomes less chaotic. More grounded. More intimate. The crowd thins. The music continues, but it feels less like a performance and more like a heartbeat. You notice the staff. Still working. Still smiling. Still moving through the space with a rhythm of their own. You notice the locals who've been here countless times. They're not rushing. Not chasing the highlight. They're just existing in it. And that's when it hits you. For some people, this isn't a once-in-a-lifetime moment. It's a part of their life. A rhythm they return to. A place that grounds them. And suddenly, your perspective shifts again. Because what feels extraordinary to you might feel like home to someone else. There's also something else you begin to understand. Something quieter. Something you might miss if you're not paying attention. Shirley Heights isn't just about what happens here. It's about what it reflects back at you. Think about it. When you stand on that cliff, looking out at something so vast, so endless. What happens inside you? Do you feel small? Do you feel free? Do you feel overwhelmed? Peaceful? Inspired? Restless? Whatever you feel, it's real. And it's yours. Because places like this don't just show you beauty. They show you yourself. Without distractions. Without filters. Just you and your thoughts, against the backdrop of something infinite. And maybe that's why people keep coming back. Not just for the view. Not just for the music. But for that feeling. That rare, almost forgotten feeling of being completely present. Of stepping out of your routine. Of remembering that there's more to life than deadlines, notifications, and responsibilities. Because for a few hours, on that hill, none of that matters. Time bends. Priorities shift. And you remember what it feels like to just be. Eventually, you'll leave again. You'll walk back to your car. The music fading behind you. The lights of the harbor growing smaller as you descend. The road winding back down into the world you know. And it'll feel almost surreal. Like you're transitioning between two different realities. Up there, everything felt amplified. Down here, everything feels quieter. More familiar. But something has changed. You carry it with you. That feeling. That perspective. That moment of clarity you didn't even realize you needed. Days later, weeks later, maybe even months later. It comes back to you. Unexpectedly. Maybe during a stressful day. Maybe in a quiet moment. Maybe when you see a sunset somewhere else. And for a split second, you're there again. On that cliff. Wind on your skin. Colors in the sky. Music in the distance. And that feeling. That unexplainable feeling. Returns. And here's the truth no one tells you. You don't just visit places like Shirley Heights. You don't just check them off a list. You don't just take photos and move on. Places like this. They mark you. Quietly. Permanently. They become a reference point. A memory you compare other moments to. A reminder of what's possible. of what exists beyond your everyday life. So one day, maybe years from now, you'll find yourself chasing that feeling again. Not necessarily in the same place. Not necessarily in the same way. But you'll recognize it when it happens. That moment when everything aligns. When the world slows down. When you feel both insignificant and incredibly alive at the same time. And when that happens, you'll remember. It started here. On a hill. Above a harbor. Where the sun doesn't just set. It leaves an imprint on your soul. Shirley Heights isn't just a place you visit, it's a moment that stays with you. As you stand above the endless sea, watching the sky burn into colors you didn't know existed, something shifts inside you. The music, the laughter, the wind, it all becomes part of you. Long after you leave, that feeling lingers, quiet, powerful, unforgettable. Because in a world that never stops moving, this is where you paused and truly felt alive.